Nick Corston, representing ACSD from Shoreham.
Linda Barrett, clerk.
Glenn Schmidt, co-op coordinator.
Kim Farnham, community large member from the Mount Airy Board District.
Judd Markowski from Bridport.
Suzanne Buck, representing ACSD. Jay?
I'm Jay Stetzel. I'm the assistant director at the Career Center.
David?
I'm David Roberts. I'm the new adult ed coordinator.
Lorraine?
Lorraine Morse, representing Addison Central School District.
Missy? Oh, Missy,
Missy, you gotta unmute yourself, or
you gotta turn your mic up. Oh, we can't hear you, Missy. Sorry.
It was okay earlier.
go out and come back in, Missy, maybe.
Missy, can you go out and come back in?
And I'll introduce myself while we're waiting. I'm Dana Peterson, Director Superintendent, Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District.
And Patrice?
Hi, Patrice Alexander, Executive Administrative Assistant.
And Mike somewhere.
Mike McGrath.
Mike McGrath, Addison Northwest.
Great. Do we have any guests online? I'm going to say that's no. Thank you all for coming. So since there are no guests, there will not be any visitor comments. May I have an approval, a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I'm going to request a executive session.
And a retreat?
At the end.
So are you adding in the board retreat and then an executive session?
If needed.
Okay. So is there any further discussion?
Don't we have to say what the executive session's for?
Yes. Employee evaluation.
I'm sorry, what?
Employee evaluation, sorry.
Thank you.
So, oh, and then the other thing we need to add is the June 23rd, 2020 minutes that were not listed on the agenda.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Suzanne. You're breaking up.
Sorry, we need to add the June 23rd, 2020 minutes. They were not on the agenda as sent out, so, but they were in the board pack.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
mute hers,
Yeah.
there'll be less feedback.
Missy, can you introduce yourself and then mute?
Yes. Melissa Douglas, Workforce Investment Board.
Thank you. So there is an amended motion on the board to approve the agenda with the additions of June 23rd, the board retreat, and an executive session for the purpose of employee evaluation. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing now, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's passed. Tina, correspondence, a piano donation for ART?
Yes, we have that on the agenda as an agenda item, but the Addison Repertory Theater has been gifted, pending the approval of the board, an upright piano valued at approximately $500 from a former alum.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question.
Yes, ma'am.
Has anybody checked the piano? I mean, is it functioning and?
My understanding of it is that came from Eric St. John, so we reviewed with him the value of the piano and whether it would be something that would be beneficial to the program. He said absolutely. I did not get into the details of, but it is a functioning piano.
Well, for you.
Been there.
Okay, Nick?
Expenditures. So general fund, 23,441.81. Nothing in the building and equipment reserve, nothing for the revolving fund, nothing for McClure. Payroll, 37,418 cents on July 17th, and 40,980.01 on 7/31. Payroll of 7/31.
You skipped 7-2, Nick.
Huh?
No, we didn't.
We did it last month.
Oh, on the 8th, okay,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you. Next item is the piano donation for ART. Is there a motion to accept the donation for the value of around $500?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the piano donation of approximately $500. Is there any further discussion?
Did we have a piano before?
No.
Nothing.
Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Sugarbush lease agreement, is that Austin?
No, that I can take care of that.
Christina.
Okay,
So you should have in the board packet a 5-page lease agreement that was compiled off of a previous lease agreement with Linda Barrett and her husband Leonard. And the previous one was with the estate of Linda's father, and that has changed hands. So we re-examined the lease and updated it. And it is a 3-year lease, which is an evergreen lease and can be revolving. So the reason it's a 3-year lease is that is the extent. The board can approve a lease agreement. It has an evergreen clause that if it's going to be terminated, one of the parties must notify the other prior to the end of the year, in which 3 years prior to when they wanted to terminate. That is item 6 under section 1. The only differences between this version and the one that you received on July 8th is a provision in section 5 of the lessor's legal obligations. And that is under bullet number 3. And it says provide access to electricity from the residents of the sugar house to the sugar house. Previously, it said electricity and water, but the Career Center brings its own water, so that was not necessary, so we removed it. And in section 6, the lessee's legal obligations, there is a note under number 10, which references section 5, and it says, as noted above in section 5, number 3, the lessee will pay for electricity based on an invoice from the lessor at the end of the sugaring season, but before June 15th. That has been past practice. We were just putting it in the lessee's legal obligations to make them parallel to what is in section 5 on the lessor's obligations. This lease agreement has been submitted to VISBIT for both insurance and legal review, and came back as an agreement that is soundly constituted.
Are there any questions around the lease agreement or comments? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote on accepting the Sugarbush lease agreement. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
So it was moved by Kim and seconded by Nick to approve the Sugarbush lease agreement. Is there any further conversation?
The only thing that I would add is that after the vote on this, that the board should empower the chair to sign off on behalf of the board for this, because in the agreement there are a couple of designated lessee signatures, and one of them is a representative of the board. So it could be somebody else, but I would just suggest that the board empower the chair, but that should be a second motion.
So ask me to sign it as the chair of the clerk, which we might want to change to a board. Very bottom, it has school district chair. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think we've got that one straightened out. You're the lessor.
No, I just read it wrong.
Okay.
Okay. So actually, we need the regional technical school district representative.
That would be the superintendent.
Okay.
And I don't think you need that, but they
board
should
chair.
empower the chair to execute the agreement on behalf of the board.
So is there any further discussion on the Sugarbush lease agreement motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the Sugarbush lease agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any nays? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion's passed. May I have a motion to empower the board chair to sign off on the agreement under the heading of Patricia A. Hannaford, Regional Technical School District Chair?
So moved.
Third. The entire room moved it and seconded it. I don't know how that worked in your minutes, Linda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's moved. Next, Lorraine, do you want to do the CBAs for both teacher and staff?
Sure. Dana, I would like to confirm with you though that you touch base with Alan or whoever was the appropriate person and that they have agreed to everything we have in here.
With respect to the support staff, yes, that all happened.
Okay.
So what you have is a 3-page summary that everybody should have.
So if only the support staff has ratified.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know that.
I don't believe they've ratified, have they, Dana?
So,
the only thing that I had heard was that there were no objections.
so can we sign off on it if they haven't ratified?
Well, sure, we can.
You can approve
Okay.
whatever you want. There, on your 3-page, which one are we looking at first? Are we looking at the support staff first, Lorraine, since that's the one you?
Yes, so.
So support staff starts with sick bank at the top, or number 718.
So is this appropriate for open session? I'm just asking the conversation.
Well, it was on the agenda for open session, right?
Well, you have to take action on that.
Correct.
Because you have to take action on open session. I'm just asking the question as to whether you want, this meeting is being recorded as per our,
So Lorraine, in other words, do you want to discuss all the changes in open session, or do you want to do an agenda change and put off approving both of these until after we come out of executive session negotiations?
I thought it was odd that it was placed where it was on the agenda, so I was like, okay, whatever the board feels is appropriate. If they want to discuss it in more detail in an executive session, then that's fine. They've seen the 3-page summary. If they don't have any other questions, I guess I don't know. That's the board's pleasure. I'm happy to do whatever seems appropriate.
Board, do you have any questions about it that would put us into executive session at the end and then push this off to after the first executive session? So if there aren't any questions or discussions, we can just move to accept.
Correct.
So then I would move to accept the CBAs for the Teachers and Staff Association 3-page summary.
Sorry. So it's been moved and seconded to accept the CBAs for both teacher and staff associations. Is there any part?
Okay, there's no questions on the teachers part one either. Everybody's happy with what we've told them in the past? Okay, I'm just making sure.
Well, the 0.5% is still in there, right?
Do we want to just?
Lorraine, are you asking to amend the motion to only do the staff right now?
Well, we were discussing the support staff, so that's what I thought we were going to be voting on right now.
You can split the agenda items as Linda was indicating.
Right.
And then take action on one and then take action on the other.
I think that would be better, but it's up to the board.
I
So,
agree.
So I would switch that one, make that same CBA motion, but for just support staff at this point.
So, motion has been reworded. So, that the motion on the table now is to support, to approve only the CBA for the Support Staff Association. Been seconded. Is there any conversation or discussion?
There has to be a second to the amendment. I believe.
Second.
So, Kim, okay.
So the amendment's been moved and seconded?
Yep.
Is there discussion on the amendment? So we'll vote on the amendment, and that is that we are going to approve the motion. The motion now reads to approve the CBA.
Your amendment.
Oh, the amendment only, sorry, getting ahead of myself. The amendment only is for the support staff. Everyone in favor of that? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Any nays? Okay, now we'll go back to the amended motion. And the amended motion now reads that the board is moving to approve the CBA for the staff association. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. So am I, from my point of clarification, the board chair, am I hearing that the board would like to discuss the teacher CBA in executive session and then come out of executive session and take action?
Yeah.
So then I would need a motion to move that the action on the teacher association CBA to after the executive session.
So moved.
Been moved?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to move the action on the CBA for the teacher association to after the executive session on negotiations. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. All right. Reports to the board. All the board, the informational agenda, the reports that were available are in your packet. Does anybody have any individual questions for any of the writers? And you do have some new people so that you can reach out to them if you want to just see how they're doing and ask any questions of them.
The other thing is that Austin didn't put together a board report, but I think he has a couple of items that he might like to bring to the board's attention.
Okay.
And so it might be appropriate for him to take the floor for a minute or two.
Okay.
But with the board's pleasure.
So does any, on the ones that you have received in your packet, does anybody have any questions, clarifications, good job, or anything like that that they might like to say? David's looking away from the camera, so it's like he didn't. Like, don't ask me anything. Hi, Jay. Do you have anything you'd like to say about your report?
I thought Jay's report was pretty helpful,
It was.
but maybe you could give us a little more expansion on the reopening committee plans. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add.
Those are outlined, Nick, in the letter, I think that we included in the packet for families.
Fucking cocksucking buddy boy.
Oops, is that you, Mike?
What's that?
Did you just say something? I'm sorry, you came across muffled.
No.
Okay.
Did Jay didn't report.
Jay, any comments to Nick?
Well, the reopening committee is meeting again next week, and I don't know if we'll meet again after that as well, just because, as you can imagine, there's a fair amount of planning needing to happen to make sure that we're ready to open safely and keep everybody healthy. So I think, the biggest thing is, I linked in there the protocols that we've come up with. Some of those, are some changes, obviously, just in terms of how bathrooms are used. I know that John and Alan are converting any public bathrooms that could have held more than one person at a time because there are multiple stalls, turning those into just one single-use bathroom. So the person would go in and lock the door, use the bathroom, and then come out, so that there aren't multiple people in a bathroom at the same time. So there's just some things like that. I actually just added a piece today about drinking fountains that I realized we had forgotten about. But the intention is that, drinking fountains are not being used, but people can use the water bottle filling stations that are associated with the drinking fountains. So there's just a number of pieces like that we have to consider, in this current situation. I guess the other thing I'll add, maybe as other people might be thinking of other questions, our hope really is that our students are able to attend 4 days. And I think I mentioned that in there. And at this point, we'll be surveys going out soon, or Dana, maybe you already sent it out, to get a sense of how many students would be attending the Career Center in person, even though they're not attending 2 of the days, at their home school in person, because we recognize that many of our programs are really focused on that hands-on, in-person, learning experience, and it's hard to do that in a remote or virtual way. We'll obviously figure that out, and it was done in the spring, but ideally we'll have our students, in person most days, and we're making adjustments for those classes and programs that have a larger number of students, but still being able to keep them safe.
So Jay, in response to your question, that survey should be going out electronically tomorrow, along with a mailed letter. There was a technical glitch in terms of the update to the electronic distribution list. And that's supposed to be completed tomorrow, but I figured that in the event that another glitch happens, I wanted to get the letter out so that we can send it to staff as well as parents, so that they have at least a hard copy, and then the letter will have a link in it when we send it digitally, so we can hopefully gather that information early next week, in time for our meeting.
Sounds good.
You have here July 31st?
That was a draft. We have modified that a little bit. So there's more information in this letter that we put together for you than will actually appear. There are a couple of paragraphs that we removed. We wanted to make it as succinct as possible. We're looking at a secondary communication, which will happen in a week or so with more information. So we pulled out a little bit of the information that was in the letter that we provided to you. But we'll certainly send you a copy of what goes out to the families.
Okay. So David, just to let you know, typically we get board reports from different groups, such as yourself. And sometimes we have meetings where we can go through each of the reports individually. Other times it's a time crunch and we just send them in a board pack and then just do a kind of a free-for-all question and answer. So we'll be looking for your report next month.
Yeah, and I'm glad to give a little bit of an update if anyone has questions.
Does anybody have any questions for David?
Or want to just hear what I've been working on.
Lorraine? Yes? No?
Sure.
Suzanne?
Yes.
I had a question not for David, but regarding the protocols that were being discussed a few minutes ago.
Okay.
I'm just.
Who do you want to direct it to?
Whoever wants to answer it.
Okay.
I'm just curious. I mean, I took a look at the protocol for reopening that we were given. Will there be people monitoring in the hallways or something to make sure kids are actually staying, 6 feet apart, or not hanging around talking and wearing their masks and not drinking out of the fountains, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, the short answer to your question, Lorraine, is yes. The reopening committee is working on all of the logistics that will need to occur. And we'll have more specific information in terms of those practices and procedures closer to the time that school opens, so that they will be available to all students and their families, and we'll have postings in the building about what to focus on. There are 5 things in general that we want to emphasize. One is making sure that people are symptom-free when they come to school, whether that's staff or students. And the exact procedure is still in flux because we're getting different recommendations from AOE and the Department of Health. So we will follow their recommendation about how that should transpire. Some can be self-reported, some can be, a check when with staff here. If anybody has symptoms, that is pretty clear. It's in your letter that they will be sent to the nurse for regular screening like they would for any other illness. The second is hand sanitizing, that upon entering the building, they will be expected to wash with soap and water or use hand sanitizer. And that will be the same for entering or exiting classroom spaces or any workspace. The third thing is that we will be implementing 6 feet of physical distance, and we'll be expecting people to stay that far apart, and that they'll have to wear masks. Anytime that we can't ensure a 6-foot distance, we have gotten the approval from the Department of Health to have barriers set up that would obviate the need for 6 feet of physical distance. And John Curler and Alan Pulsifer are working on stations that will allow for that to happen if there are questions of the total physical footage in which students can attend class.
Okay, all right, that's good. I mean, obviously I want our students safe, but I also am concerned about the safety of our staff, so.
Yep. Oh, and the other thing is that everybody will be required to do contact tracing every time that there's a change in cohort or a period. So the students will be registering every time they go into class, and those will be kept for 30 days, and then we'll get rid of them. That's per the CDC, I believe. So and that will be for any type of a meeting. So for example, this evening, we have everybody signing in on our log, and that will serve as our contact tracing log for this evening's meeting. So if somebody if somebody goes for a test and is found positive, then you would be asked to think back about your meetings and where you were in close contact, and everybody in this meeting would probably be on that list, even though we are maintaining 6 feet of distance plus masks. So that gives you an example of how that would work.
May I ask one more unrelated question, kind of? Yes?
Sure.
Okay, I'm not sure I've heard yet about the makery. I know we're not supposed to have other people inside of the building, other than students and staff, so is that going to be allowed again?
Yes, it is, because the makery is an extension of adult ed, and folks who are participating are considered members and students of the makery.
Okay.
And so we have folks who are serving in the capacity of
Does David
mentors.
have any feedback on that?
Yeah, David, if you want to chime in, feel free, but I think you know something about how that is going to start, so feel free to share.
Yeah, so I do get to give my little summary. We are, the makery is opening. We were going to try to open a soft open tomorrow night we're making masks for the United Way backpack campaign, which is great. But we're doing that offline. But we're definitely kicking the makery, the sewing lab piece of that off this week. And so we're actively advertising. We are working on the space to be social distancing compliant. We're releasing the adult ed calendar next week. So we will be having classes Tuesday night, Wednesday nights, and Thursday nights in the building as in past, and continuing to social distance, follow protocol. And other than that, I think we're trying to do some e-makery work. We felt that some of the things online were very successful, so we're going to continue pushing that. I'm continuing to reach out to businesses, partners, sponsors, and funders, just to tell them I'm here and to promote the adult ed programs. So getting off to a great start, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. So given the extra cleaning that's going to be needed during the daytime, and I'm assuming time, will our staff be able to absorb that extra work?
Yes.
Lorraine, did you hear the answer?
I did hear the answer. So.
Would you like me to elaborate?
Well, I just, it just sounds like there's going to be a lot of additional cleaning requirements, and I want to make sure our current staff are not going to be overwhelmed with expectations.
The only thing that may be, they were already doing the regular cleaning at the end of March, before we went into remote learning, and then they continued to do that throughout. So the spaces will be done by instructors in between classes, and they will clean at the end of the evening to be set up for the following day. And in talking with John, that's not considered to be an undue burden, to be able to sanitize appropriately.
Okay, good, thanks. Sorry to have asked so many questions.
That's all right. Austin, do you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Basically, Gretchen and I are working on closing out the books for fiscal year 20, and as part of that, we've kicked off the new audit. I guess it's been an ongoing process, but the contract we have with RHR Smith to do the audit every year. We're sending them preliminary materials to review, and then on the 17th, we have an in-person meeting with them here at school, and that will take probably 2 days that week. Second item is we just received our Perkins grant money in the Monday. It came through as an ACH payment. So that was about $108,000 in the door, which is helpful for cash flow. And then as part of the audit, we've been working on a collateralization agreement with the Bank of Middlebury. And that basically just indicates that in addition to our FDIC backing of $250,000, we're part of a municipal pool that covers us for, I think it's $37 million is the pool of funds that secure us. So those are the kind of the three quick items that we've been working on recently.
Austin, do you have an update on what the expected fund balance is going?
Yeah, at the moment, until we get the books closed entirely, it's looking like we're about $100,000 in the black for fiscal year 20. So we came in at $100,000 underspent, which is good.
Which is what we were projecting, I think, at the last.
Yeah, we're a couple $1,000s off of that target, but very close.
Great, thanks.
Is that a relatively normal year-end fund balance? Is that what you try to achieve? I know you're relatively new here, but
yeah.
Is that what we try to carry over every year is approximately that?
Fund balances in the time that I have been here and just prior to my arrival have ranged anywhere between 75,000 and 115,000, I think. So it's certainly in the ballpark.
Sure.
75 might have been a little bit low. 115 might have been a little on the higher side, but it's certainly the target. Right around, you want to target about somewhere between 2.5% and 3% of your money, just for just having a little buffer in case something happens. So it's well within the acceptable range.
Great.
I mean, we might hear differently from the auditors who at one time in the past said we run a very mean and lean budget. And that was at, that might have been last year's at 75, but I know that when they did the first year, they still thought that it could be a little bit healthier than that. But we don't, there's always that balance between how much is a reasonable amount to have left over and what is excessive, so.
Susan, I have a question from before.
Yep.
Procedural thing that my husband's ship does is they pass out 2 masks for the day. You get one in the morning, you get one in the afternoon. So that's the sanitation piece that takes place. Nobody's talking about, you know, if we're gonna supply masks, how that's gonna be distributed and so on, because I'm sure there's a variety of students and some staff members that are gonna have a need to go through a lot of masks during the course of the day.
So John Curler has ordered, I can't remember how many thousand, 2,500 maybe, masks that I think have now been shipped to us that we will have in the event that they're needed. We also picked up our supply last week from AOE, which provides KN95 masks for staff should they be more appropriate than a cloth.
Shields.
We have purchased approximately 30 to 40 shields. The recommendation at this point in time is that cloth face coverings are preferable to face shields, but the jury's still out on that. And certainly we can use face shields when anybody would be reading lips or would impede communication. So we have a variety of options to be able to access to make sure.
Gloves.
We do have quite a supply of gloves, but at this point in time, that is not necessarily a recommendation for people to be using while performing the regular duties. Some of our programs have gloves anyway. Our auto, diesel, and I think even our industrial design and fabrication have gloves on hand for a variety of greasy jobs. So they have them as part of their regular program.
Thank you.
But at this point in time, they have not been indicated as a measure that we need to implement.
Are there any other questions? Len is sitting here, he's feeling very lonely, no one's got a question for him. No?
I've got a general question.
Okay.
I received VISBA's
Notification.
pronouncement about adoption of approach for opening schools here.
Oh,
And I guess there's a way with governance boards and another way with non-governance boards. I don't know if we need to discuss this sometime, but
only at some point, I got it this afternoon and I started reading it and I didn't get to finish it, so.
your eyes roll.
Well, I knew it was coming
Okay.
probably because I was at another board meeting last week and the letter from a specific superintendent had come out and had caused quite a few questions about
Okay,
whose right is it to open schools and can you
Yeah.
delegate and not delegate
Yeah.
procedures, so
but since we are a governance board,
we have a different procedure
It
than
looks
others.
okay.
Yeah.
It is okay, because what you're doing is you're delegating that responsibility to the
Right.
superintendent.
Right.
And what was being recommended by VISBA, I'm sorry to be chiming in, but you raised the question.
That's okay.
That if they don't have that as their structure, then they're asking that boards empower the superintendent to be making those decisions, because that's the way that it should happen in terms of the, it's an operational decision.
Right.
And that should be
but
passed on to the
this does imply that the board needs to make a
Yeah.
decision.
if they don't already run it by policy.
Well, even if they do.
That wasn't my reading, but that's okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll bring it up in the policy committee meeting, all right?
Sure.
Did you hear that? She said.
No, I didn't hear it.
The VISBA letter that came out today. About reopening school. So put that on the policy committee agenda, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Always a pleasure doing business.
Yeah.
All right. So are there any other questions on any of the reports? Okay. Can I,
Now, since we're on camera, and I'd just like to acknowledge Erin Deal. It appears in my board report. She was, her work was showcased at the Vermont School Boards Association, Joint School Boards Association and Vermont Superintendents Association student performance area in the virtual meeting that Suzanne and I attended a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
And I thought that it was very well done, and I want to compliment her and Eric. We received an invitation for people who were interested in doing a performance when it was originally, this was back in February, when it was originally supposed to be in person.
oh, yeah,
And Eric remained in contact with Chelsea Myers at the Vermont Superintendents Association. And they decided that they could still do something. And so they put together the aquariums. She put together the aquariums, short video with one other actor from ART, and that was
great.
presented. So it was really a good job. If I can get a copy of that video, I will send it to the board, because I think Eric has that.
it'd be great. It was an excellent presentation. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yes, I saw it too. It was cool to see somebody from the Career Center performing for the whole conference.
Right, and we had two of them because both of those were actors. Amy wrote it, but the other one was an actor in ART as well, so. Yeah, I was very proud.
If there are no further questions, may I ask, everyone looks away, Judd, to do policy 4.1 governing staff?
I felt like today we moved through the agenda pretty well. 4:42, yeah, we stayed relatively pretty much, I guess 10 minutes
10
behind.
minutes behind.
I think things went pretty well. This is my first experience with a mixed group, some online and some in person. That was an interesting thing. And thank you to everyone for joining that way.
Yeah, so from what Dana told me this afternoon, we were kind of the guinea pigs for how the hybrid classrooms might look. So having students in the classroom and students maybe at home, but being on a Zoom or some form of a meeting call, so that it was interesting to see how it works.
I thought of one more thing, probably getting back to maybe Jay and David's things. As far as, are you going to figure out how to teach the etiquette of the online learning where people are muted and knowing how to, on some, I think it's on Zoom, there's a button for raise your hand, things like that. Is there going to be sort of an etiquette maybe packet that comes out to give students and parents maybe some heads up on how to interact on Zoom and whatever other meeting platforms?
We have not talked about that. I'm glad to be involved in that and offer support. I think it's a great idea. We are trying to think about offering more work skills classes. Matter of fact, we're teaching a class this fall. And I think a part of what we want to try to do is move into teaching some remote work skills.
Thank you.
I would just add, I don't know what was done in the spring at the Career Center specifically in terms of, providing students with specific directions on how to interact online and those sorts of things. I know it for Gens, we did do some of that, but it's a work in progress in terms of that etiquette and those sorts of things. So I would say, Judd, I guess to answer your question, it's an ongoing process. We have some teachers who are participating in the Vermont Virtual Learning Cooperative class, and that's so they're learning how to be better teachers, online teachers, and so that will also help us in developing those protocols and expectations for students.
Great, thank you very much.
And that's reported in the board report, my board report, and we'll be starting another cohort, Jay, I think in the not too distant future because of how well it was received. So we've already started recruiting teachers to be able to take that second level, well, the second offering of online best practices. So thanks.
Okay, so at this point in time, before I ask for the motion to go into executive session, I just need everyone to remember that I sent out 2 Zoom video executive sessions. Make sure you log into the one that says 4:30. We're a little late, but log into that one first. And it's from me, and then you have another one that says like second executive session or something like that. So there's 2 individual ones. So you're gonna go to the first, log into that one for 4:30, and then there's one for 7:30. Everyone clear?
Okie dokie.
Okay.
And we should probably let Middlebury Public Television know that I've recorded this meeting and I can send it to them because they're coming on late.
Okay.
So I think they were coming on for 5. Middlebury Public Television or Middlebury MCTV, are you there?
Yep, our schedule said 5.
Sorry about that. Should have gone out for 4. So we have been recording this this meeting, and I can send that file to you afterwards if you like.
Okay, thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So may I have a motion to go into executive session for negotiations, personnel, please? Nick has moved it.
Second.
Kim has seconded it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of going into executive session for the purpose of negotiations and personnel, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will go into executive sessions at, it'll be about 5 o'clock by the time everyone logs back in. Okay? See you. Thank you all. Bye, Len.